a massive, massive welcome to my next guest and someone I've admired professionally as a fighter, and not only that, as a person for quite some time. All action, leaves his heart on his sleeve. Former
Yeah,
two-time world champion, Mr. Shawn Porter. Shawn, how you doing?
thank you. I'm doing great. So thank you for inviting me onto your show.
Honestly, the pleasure is more than mine. So, the
Yeah,
fans are really going to enjoy this
w-
conversation. There's no doubt
we
about
can
it.
argue that all day, huh?
No doubt about it. So we do things a little bit differently here, and this show goes out on TV all around now in the US, in Africa, in China, all around Europe,
Yeah.
and we do things just a little bit differently. And rather than we will get to your fights and we will get to what you hope to achieve even moving forward, and then later we're going to have a bit of fun. But
hmm
first of all, let's just learn about the person and learn about kind of the person behind the gloves. So tell us a little bit more, kind of what got you into boxing.
My dad got me into boxing. The long story short, I actually did start training when I was 5 years old. I know a lot of people say that, and they don't really get going in boxing until they're a little bit older. But I had two older brothers, so we were 5, 6, and 7. And my dad, the same person you see now, is really the same person he's always been in terms of his work ethic, in terms of his commitment level to the sport, his commitment level to training, his commitment and drive to being the best at whatever it was that he's done through the course of his life. And my dad just kind of really pushed that on me. He pushed it on my brothers as well. And when I was 5 years old, he just out of nowhere comes up with this rule. When you come to the gym with me, the number one rule is you're not allowed to sit down, and that is true. He
Right.
actually said that, like, you're not allowed to sit down. And so when we would go to the gym with him, he would put us in the mirror and start us on our basics and fundamentals. I actually do have a video of me sparring at 5 years old, or
Oh yeah.
I think I was 4. I think it was the summer I was 4 years old, just before I turned 5. So when I say that I've been going at this thing for some time, I really have,
Yeah.
because like I said, man, the same Kenny Porter you see on TV now, he's always had that type of work ethic and that type of mentality, and he's pushed that on me when I was 4 or 5 years old.
Crazy.
It's
Crazy.
been a long road.
Well, why not sitting down then? What's that all about? Why what just so if you're not, then you should be shadowboxing in the mirrors, or what kind of
you know and I'm at the US Military Academy right now, which is at West Point. And to see the way these guys move and operate, my dad, people for a long time would joke and say your dad is a really militant man. He's no nonsense. And even though my dad has never been in the armed forces, he's never um committed to being in the army or anything like that at all, watching these young cadets move around, my dad had myself and my brothers moving around the same way, just really
yeah?
structured.
I can relate to that
And
massively. My dad was a
yeah,
gunner in the Navy in the Falklands War. He's a
yeah.
war hero, so I lived with
But
that
see,
stuff.
your dad came from it though.
Yeah,
My dad didn't come from that.
yeah,
My dad just knew that I don't. My dad is very special. He knew that there was something about the way you have to structure your life, and if you structure your life this way,
yeah,
that along down sometime down the line, that you will, reap the benefits of it. And so that was the structure. It wasn't that my dad didn't want us to be lazy.
yeah.
It wasn't that he didn't want us to get rest or anything like that at all. My dad, he's special. He just knew that my sons need to have structure, and this is the structure I want my sons to have. And I got two little guys now, and I'm like, and especially after coming here, it's like it was a quick reminder of what I got when I was young. And I'm going home now, man, and these kids are probably gonna hate me for a little while, but I understand
Yeah.
what can happen if you have the kind of structure that these cadets have, that I had
Yeah.
growing up. And so my 3-year-old and my 9-month-old, who's not even gonna understand what I'm talking about, he's gonna be saluting at a very young
I
age.
think it makes you work harder, though, Sean. I do. I think maybe this is where I was going to ask you a question a little bit later, which we'll get to, but in regards to how relentless you are and how you've got that about you where you just don't stop. And I think when you have that structure in your life, you can do that because
Yeah,
you pushed yourself all your life. Doesn't matter what you're doing.
yeah,
Doesn't matter if you're doing a
yeah,
spelling bee or you're looking at another guy walking on the edge of the street because you know you're going walking, you know you're going to beat him. Do you know what I mean? It's I
Yeah,
don't know, weird
yeah.
analogy, but it's when you've got that
What? No,
support network, it makes
I
sense.
know exactly what you're saying, and I think the best way to put it is foundation. That is my foundation is discipline. My foundation is mannerable. My foundation is being a genuine good person, and I think that no matter what I do or no matter what I've done, at my core, my foundation is so strong that at some point I'm always going to come back to that foundation, and I know that that's what's got me where I've gotten in life. And so it's like you can't beat foundation. If you
Yeah.
have a strong foundation, it can't be beat. And vice versa. If you have a foundation that for the sake of words is weak, or your foundation really has not been established, then you'll kind of move any and every way in life. So my foundation is strong, and again, going back to my children, I'm an extension of my dad, and now my children are an extension of me. So our foundation will be strong as mine
Yeah.
has been, and so on and so
Do
forth.
you find it weird how much of a stamp a parent has on your life? And you don't even realize it sometimes, do you?
Never knew it.
It's
Never knew it.
so strange. It is
Yeah,
strange.
it's so easy for me to talk about my dad
Yeah.
as my coach, talk about my dad obviously as my father, talk about my dad as a mentor, as a leader, as an example, as guidance, and so on and so forth. It's very easy for me now. I'm 33, but when I was 23, I was in denial that he had such profound effect on me. And then I also think that I didn't really understand and recognize it at that point in time. But being 33, it's very easy, and I'm very comfortable talking about my dad, and basically showing the examples that he has set for me. It's very easy. But yeah,
Yeah.
when I was 23, never would have known.
It's so strange. I mean, I'm glad we're getting this deep. I think it's cool. I think it's good
Yeah,
that fighters, do this. And I was even when I was
yeah,
back in fighter back in the day, I've always been like this. Oh, wear heart on my sleeve. I don't care. It's just the way I am. I
yeah,
think everybody should act like
yep,
that. It's good to get
yep,
your emotions out. But
yep,
yeah, as
yep.
you're getting older, I mean, I remember only about a year ago, my dad and he had three of us growing up, and they didn't really have loads of money, and it was Christmas time, and I had a little boy, and I got him everything he wanted, and I thought to myself, how the hell did he do this for three? Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean? And I rang him up,
yeah,
and I just said, Dad, thank
yeah,
you so much for everything you did to me when I was, for me when I
yeah,
was younger, because it must have been so hard. And he just started crying. Do you know what I mean? So I think that when you
yeah,
get older, you do mature and you do understand.
yeah,
That's why the old
yeah.
people are generally the wisest. So it
Yep,
makes
yep.
sense to
And
me.
I mean, even with what I do have, I'm looking at my sons, and my wife gives them everything. Her family gives them everything. My dad comes over with gifts randomly, and I'm like, okay, stop. This is not how I grew up, and we can't. If we continue this way, we're all gonna be broke. Stop. But
Yeah,
it,
you
it
can't
is it
spoil
is
them.
something that kind of it out of nowhere resonates with you. You're
Yeah,
like, how was this possible? My dad, two sons as well. How was this? How did he do this? You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
amazing.
it'll humble you. It will give you more appreciation for your life, the life that you lived. Where I'm sure at some point in your life you're like, I hate my life. And then when you look back on it, you're like, damn, that just wasn't
It's
bad at
like
all.
school. School's the best example of that. When you're at school, you
Yeah,
think, God, I don't want to go to school. Then as soon as you leave, you're like,
yeah.
can I go back to school now, please?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I
all you
miss
want.
it. I
Yeah,
miss you guys,
I'm
I
with you.
miss the structure of having to get up,
Yeah,
all that.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely with you. I want to ask you a question about something that, like, to me, it was like, what the hell? And it's quite historic. A lot of people know about it, but I'm not sure they really know. So, in the amateurs, you fought Usyk,
Oh
who's
Lord. Yeah.
like 6 weight divisions heavier than you now.
Yeah. Yeah.
How? And
I
can
don't
you
know.
just explain that
Well,
to me?
first of all, yeah, let me say this. First of all, when I was younger, I played football and I carried a lot of muscle. And so when I was not playing football, I boxed at 165 pounds. But I am a hybrid in the sport of boxing, and I'm a hybrid. I can't speak for soccer, your football,
Uh huh.
but I can speak for American football. football, I would be considered a hybrid in American football. A hybrid in American football is a guy who is fast enough to be a wide receiver, fast enough to be a running back, quick enough to be a wide receiver, quick enough to be a running back, strong enough to be a wide receiver, and strong enough to be a running back. Normally, you have one or the other. You have a guy who is only strong enough and fast enough to run the ball, or you got a guy who is only quick enough and fast enough to catch the ball and then run after the catch.
Okay.
A lot of guys can't catch the ball and they're strong enough to do things out of the backfield and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of hybrids in
like
boxing.
A triple threat kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then boxing, I am a hybrid, and I was even more of a hybrid as an amateur because at 165 I was very strong. Guys were getting knocked out left and right. I was very fast. Guys could not catch me. They couldn't time me. I was very quick, so I was in and on you and then right back out, So I had a hybrid style that could contend with a lot of guys that were bigger than me, a lot of guys that were faster than me. If you were faster, you weren't strong enough, and it goes on from there. So when I fought Usyk, he might have been 6 foot at that point in time, and we're both 165. He was a lot thinner than he is now, and that was in 2007. So I turned pro. Yeah, I turned pro, and then I moved down to 147 in 2010. And I think that a lot of people see me now as a 147-pound fighter, not knowing that at once upon a time I had a lot more muscle mass than I have now, and I was at a higher weight. So when we did it, man, it's a fight that I remember pretty vividly because there were some key things that happened through that night that really makes that fight memorable. You brought a team over here to Chicago, and it was 11 of us against 11 of them. And that night, only 2 of us won our fights, and that was myself and Keith Thurman.
Wow.
And
God,
so
that's a mystery
prior
there.
to us,
God.
Keith was 152 and I was 165. And prior to us, everybody was losing. It was like those guys were coming to the back room, and it's like Keith and I looked at each other and we dapped up. We're like, yo, we not losing. We representing, for the country. And that's exactly what we did, and I ended up catching Usyk with a really big right hand in the last round that kind of pushed him back. And me, the same Shawn Porter now. Back then I stayed on him and I was able to get a victory.
Wow, that's just something you tell your kids about, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And your grandkids about.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, like for me can use that story to let people know that anything's possible. You as long as you equip yourself and as long as you have faith and believe in yourself, then anything's possible, man. I'm 5'7" and I fought against guys that were, I think the tallest guy I fought was like 6'6", so and I beat him.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm not exaggerating.
165. Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm not exaggerating.
Wow.
Yep.
So
that's, which is also why when I turned pro, that's like you got to get down to 147. These guys aren't going to be as big, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean 160. Yeah, they're going to be absolute monsters, aren't they? Let's be honest. And I can understand that. Awesome. So you won the world title against Devin Alexander, if I remember rightly, which was incredible. Good fighter himself, Devin Alexander. You then went on to did you stop Paulie Malignaggi, if I remember rightly? And then you went on to fight my countryman, Kell Brook.
Why'd you skip? You kind of skipped those.
I've got that many. That's why you've got a career where you've just fought everyone, Thurman and Spence and Garcia. I just want to stick to the main ones, really. But just because he's my countryman, I was really surprised, to be honest, because I've always rated you massively, and it was a close fight. There's no doubt about it was a close fight. But talk us through that fight.
In retrospect, I've over the years just kind of come back to that. I think a lot of people come back to that fight because it was a big fight and because it was my first loss and things like that. But for myself, just trying to find the explanation or the reason why this or that happened. And, I really did come to the conclusion that so I moved down to 147, I think 2010, 12, I was officially 147 pounds. Prior to that, it was just a process to getting down there. Once I got down there, it was like, okay, you should be stronger than a lot of guys you get in the ring with. And then you fast forward and you see the way I handle Alexander. And then
Yeah.
once I get in the ring with Paulie, it was every time I was weighing in, I was always kind of looking at my body, trying to see how, the muscle was distributed, and how my body looked and all that kind of stuff. And when I got in the ring with Paulie the night of the fight, I had gotten dressed and I looked at my legs, and my legs looked thick, like when I played football. And I looked
Okay.
at my dad. I said he's in trouble. And I pointed down to my legs, and my dad knew exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, how could he not? And when I went in the ring and knocked out Paulie, I think it was in 5 rounds. I kind of thought that whoever I got in the ring with, it was only a matter of time before I knocked him out. And so I think in some ways I underestimated Kell. I think in some ways I didn't give him the respect that he deserved. And when we got in the ring, it was like from rounds 1 to round 12, I just got to hit you one time and I'm going to knock you out. And I think that I went in with one mindset and one game plan, and that does not always work in boxing. And it clearly didn't work in that fight with Kell. And I really told myself after that fight, I said, I'm never going to do this again. I'm never going to come to the ring with one mindset and one game plan. And when that doesn't work, I'm not listening to my corner, and I'm just so, engulfed in what I think is going to happen. I said, I'm never going to do that again. And, I've held on to that state of mind ever since.
What I like about you, Shawn, and I'm sure we will meet each other one day, is you're always being a fighter both in and out the ring. So I mean that by, if you took a loss, you've come back. You haven't just, like many other people, you haven't just gone, all right, well, maybe I'm not good enough. You've come back. So from after that fight with Cal Brook, you fought Bone, and then you beat Broner, which is another great win. Which was, pretty amazing. You then came up against Keith Thurman, who you obviously clearly knew very well. I didn't know that, actually. I'm sure the fans had looked. I didn't know you knew him so well from the amateurs. So, again, another closely fought contest. So, talk us through that fight.
Yeah, I think it's probably the same over there, where a lot of the countrymen know each other, and whether they get in the ring with each other or not, at some point in their professional careers, they've grown to know one another and so on and so forth, even though they're from different cities over there. Same thing with here. Obviously we have states over here, and even though Keith is from Florida, I'm from Ohio, we would see each other at multiple national tournaments. We were always winning those national tournaments, always knocking out guys, so on and so forth. And I think me being 165 back in the day, him being 152 when we reached the open division 17 and up, I don't think we ever looked at each other like we would be fighting each other. Same thing with Terrence Crawford, who was actually 132 pounds back in the day.
You must have never even envisioned ever fighting someone like that.
Never envisioned myself, even so. I never had a desire to fight Terrence Crawford either, But just getting back to Keith, we traveled together, we knew each other, we fought on that Chicago team together, so on and so forth. And it's like, there's not too many guys that I really hang out with in the sport. I don't really, things like that. But Keith is just clicks, man. He's my kind of guy, So when we fought each other, we were looking at each other like, hey, it's that time has come. It was like it's you or it's me. And we put our friendship to the side, and that fight was 100% competition. It was 100% two competitors getting in the ring and duking it out. And it was an amazing night. I think at that point in time, every fight, I don't really go into the fight with the mindset that this is going to be an instant classic, or I'm going to make sure this is a classic fight. It's just, for me, it's played out that way a few times, and I'm very grateful. And I remember when the final bell rung against Keith, I had the thought like, I'm glad this is over. You know what I mean? And
it was a war, wasn't it?
Yeah, a lot of people see after the fight, they have a camera on me when the decision was announced, and you hear me scream, I wanted that. And a lot of people think that I'm talking about I wanted his title, but in fact I was talking about I wanted to be the first person to give him a loss. And that's what
Right.
I mean when I say I wanted that, so I wasn't able to get that victory, but I think in some ways I still won in the night.
Yeah. And then again, this is why I'm saying you're such a fighter.
Yeah,
You
again.
came back again, and
Yeah.
arguably one of the best, if not the best, wins of your career against Danny Garcia,
Uh-huh.
which for me is he's a great fighter, very underrated
Hmm.
fighter, and
Hmm.
again another great fight. So.
Yeah.
How did it feel kind of at this point? Now, people from when the kids, dream of being a world champion or dream of being
Yeah.
any kind of champion, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to be two-time world
Yeah.
champion. I mean,
Yeah.
how did that make you feel, Sean?
Like going back just a little bit, I was telling the story about me getting in the ring when he fought on Showtime against Brandon Rios and calling him out and things like that. And I was letting my friend know that most times when someone gets in the ring after a fight, it's kind of staged and it's known about, and there's kind of like everyone gives the thumbs up that the guy can get in the ring. And with me, nobody knew that I was getting in the ring. Producers for Showtime that no one knew, and so when I got in the ring and called him out, and he blurted back, "Hey, I'll fight you." I kind of knew at that point in time, like, this fight's gonna happen. I'm finally getting what I want, and I'm gonna win this fight. And another thing that I've never done before this fight, I've always said that I never want to guarantee anything. I don't want to be that guy that guarantees a knockout in the fifth
Yeah,
round and it doesn't happen until the eighth round. Then everybody's looking at you. You said you were going to knock him out in the fifth. I never wanted to do that. I saw guys do things like that, and sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't. And
yeah.
I
Looks cool
always
when it
wanted to
does.
stay. I always wanted to stay away from a
Yeah.
prediction or from guaranteeing something, but I had a desire to win the WBC title, and I allowed that desire to kind of overtake me. And I started to say in the promotions right before our fight, I'm not leaving New York without this title. I'm not leaving New York without this
So the
belt.
prediction
And I
was really a
remember
win. Then that was the
and I
key thing.
remember, I remember even having the thought of, how are you going to leave New York if you don't win this fight? Like, what are you going to do if you don't win this fight? And I
Embarrassing.
remember telling myself, yeah, I remember telling myself, like, it doesn't matter. You're going to win this fight,
Yeah.
And we came to the ring with a great game plan. Was the first time we brought in our now assistant coach Barry Hunter, who's had multiple world champions and has done things at a extremely high level in the amateur program for a number of years,
Uh-huh.
and great relationship with him. And we kind of just went to the ring that night with excellent game plan and a team that was kind of the camaraderie between everyone within the team was just right. And I think that really separated myself from Danny in that fight. And I tell people, this is the other side of it, is my wife called me when I was in England. I was in
Okay.
Sheffield. We were there supporting Errol Spence Jr. when he fought Kilbrook, and my wife called me while I was out there and told me, at my now wife, at that point in time, we weren't married.
Uh-huh.
She told me that she was pregnant and we were having a child. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. I
Yeah.
remember like the excitement. I remember it just being an unbelievable experience. Her telling me that, and then once we had our child, again, I mean, I'd
Wow.
never experienced anything like that before. And then I win that WBC title, and it's like all of those same
Wow.
emotions came again. And like that's how I was able to recognize it. I was like, I haven't felt anything like this since she called me and told me that we were having a child, and then our child came into the life, so it came into this world. So
Yeah.
that's how special like winning the WBC title was for me.
It's amazing. And I
Yeah.
can't even begin to imagine how incredible that
Yeah.
is. That.
Yeah, and everybody's different,
Yeah.
So I know that for some guys, like talking, we'll speak to that. How does it feel to become a two-time world champion? For me, like hearing the word two-time, that I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, 2 times. Most people only do it once. You're
Yeah.
right. Like, I never really realized that. If at all, most guys only get to do it one time,
Yeah.
and now I've been like that doesn't really resonate to me. But if you tell me like, how's it feel to win the WBC title? Like
Yeah, that's the
that's
one.
what my
Yeah.
emotion is. How does it feel to beat Danny Garcia? Like that's where my emotion is. It's there more than it is to become a 2-time world champion. There's guys that want to become like 4 division world champion, and for me that just wasn't my goal, but my goal was to win the WBC title.
And I can't imagine how amazing it must feel. I mean, we had Vinny Paz on the show the other day, and we spoke about
Nice.
what happened with his car crash. And he said
Yeah.
when he came back and had that first fight and won, he felt like he found God, and
Yeah.
then he thought it was like, wow. And then when he won the world title, he was like, no,
Yeah.
now I found God. Now I found
Yeah.
God. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's madness. Absolute madness.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
That's amazing.
So
Yeah,
Errol
thank
Spence
you.
Jr., which
Yeah.
was what a fight. I mean, what a fight that was. That was a war.
Yeah.
And he's big for the weight. He's big for the weight, but
Mm.
you dealt with it. You dealt with bigger guys than
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
Errol Spence. So you
Yeah.
lost on a split decision, if I'm remembering rightly.
Yeah. I think it was a split
Do
decision.
you think? I can't think you might have done. Do you think? Do you? I shouldn't really do that, but do you think you did enough to win that fight?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about doing enough. I thought that we'll go back to Keith Thurman just one time. I see highlights of that fight, and I
Did
think
you
to
mean
myself,
to use that then, the one time thing, or not?
yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
carry on. Go on.
One time we go back to that fight. Um, I when I watch highlights of the fight that I had with Keith Thurman, I literally think to myself, I can't believe we did that. I can't believe I was in the ring, like doing everything that I did, making the moves that I made. Because I think at some capacity in a fight, at least for me, I don't know about other guys, but it's almost like I have this outer body experience
Yeah,
where I'm doing whatever it takes to win the fight. It doesn't matter. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And it's
yeah,
almost like I'm outside of my mind in the process of trying to defend my life, look better than the other guy, win the fight,
yeah,
hit him and not get hit and all those kinds of things. And so the same thing goes for when I watch the Errol Spence Jr. fight, or I think about it, it's like, man, I did so much in that fight. The energy that was released through the course of that fight and that night was unbelievable. And so when I say all that and you say, hey, man, do you think you did enough to win the fight? I say, yeah, I do think I did enough, but it doesn't matter because the people got theirs money worth.
yeah,
My legacy is being cemented in that night, in
yeah.
that moment. And so with that being said, it doesn't matter whether or not I did enough. I think that the night speaks for itself.
Just an unbelievable fight.
Yeah,
Unbelievable
yeah,
fight. I mean, I
yeah,
don't mean again to call out any kind of name drop, but Tony Weeks, the referee, was on the show the other day and as well, and he mentioned the Corrales and Castillo fight, and he said a
yeah,
similar kind of thing. He said, I didn't even know it was happening when I was there, but
yeah,
when I look
yeah,
back, I'm like, oh my good
yeah,
God, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
How has that even
yeah.
happened? It's
I don't
madness.
think we'll ever see a Castillo Corrales fight again.
Yeah,
I
it's
think that
awesome.
and as because it's necessary, I think that the sport is much safer now. And so, to see that many knockdowns or those type of brutal knockdowns, I don't
Hmm.
think we'll see it anymore. But to be able to have a fight so action packed, that's amazing to me that people would compare my fight with Errol Spence Jr. to a fight with Castillo and Corrales,
Yeah,
because I think that, my God, like that's one of the most amazing like fights that I've been able to watch. I
yeah,
didn't watch it
just
live,
to
but
view.
yeah,
Yeah.
just it was amazing, and I don't think we'll ever see it again. And so, for if people are thinking that they'll never see a fight like Errol Spence Jr. and Shawn Porter again, then I did my job that night. Yeah.
Leading perfectly on to my next question then. So you've got some really talented kids coming through in the welterweight
Hmm.
division. You've got
Hmm.
John Ennis, which I think is going to be something big in the future.
Hmm.
Um, uh, Conor Ben. Conor Ben is another one that I know that seems to be put. I don't think he's anywhere. No, I'm sorry, Conor. Don't mean to knock you, mate. I would think you're doing
Yeah.
great things,
Let
but I
me
think
let
there's a
me
big
ask
gap
you
yet.
this: Do you think that if he wasn't Nigel Ben's dad, do you think he would have the type of awareness and
Yeah.
excitement around his career if he wasn't Nigel Benn's son.
Do you know
And
what?
obviously, it's hard to kind of separate it, but I just feel like a lot of guys who are 18-0
Yeah.
don't really get, even if they're like Boots Ennis, for instance, like
Yeah.
he's
Great
doing
fighter.
some great things, and also Virgil Ortiz. I'm sure you're probably going to
Yeah.
mention him.
Great fighter.
They've done some really good things, but I don't think that they are regarded the same. The excitement around them isn't quite the
Yeah.
level that it is of Nigel Benn.
It depends
Excuse
what you're
me,
asking.
Connor Benn.
Is it the
Yeah.
is if you are asking, is it the excitement? I think that I think that does kind of build in to that idea, if you want to call it that. I think that if he wasn't Nigel Benson, maybe he wouldn't have the potential hype. And
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that Conor Benn's very good, but he's nowhere near that kind of level yet, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Yeah.
still very raw. He's a
Yeah.
great fighter, and don't get me wrong, he
Yeah.
might have put that lad away the other day, but
Yeah.
it's not world level. It's certainly not your
Yeah.
level or
Yeah.
Jaron Ennis's level for me right now.
Yeah.
The only thing I
Yeah.
like about Conor Benn and being ringside and down at the O2 and watching him, I think he's kind of, it's not like the Chris Eubank Jr. thing where there's a
Yeah.
hype behind just because his son. He has actually
All
done
right.
the graft, and that's one thing
Yeah.
I like about him is he admitted, listen, I'm raw. I'm nothing like my dad was. And
Uh-huh.
he has gone and he's learned his mistakes. He's got this he's been coarse, got massive eyes out here, and but he has actually worked hard to get there. Do I think he's
What do you
anywhere
mean
near?
by
No.
he's done the graph? What do you mean by he's done
Done
the
the
graph?
yeah, sorry, English thing. He's worked hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's worked
Okay.
hard throughout his career where he's tested himself.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
personally don't think he will get to the point of
Yeah.
world level unless he's been managed
It's
very well. But
And see,
credit to him,
oh
really.
wow, it's good. So it is interesting to hear you say that. But like for me, for instance, if I were to fight Conor Benn, like I'm going at Conor Benn like he's a world champion, even though
Okay.
he doesn't have a world championship title. I'm not going at him like, well, you're Nigel Benn's son, you don't work hard, and you just you earned it, you didn't earn everything that you have. Like, and it's good to hear you say like he actually has worked for everything that
Yeah.
he's gotten to this point. Obviously, there's a little tad bit of help right there
Mm.
because of his name, but he's still working through that. And I think a lot of times, a lot of these athletes don't understand that it's not going to always be given to them.
Yeah.
And again, just going back to my kids, like I'm there's going to be a point where they're not going to be given anything at all, and
Yeah.
they're going to have to understand that you have to work for this. Go get that A on that test, and then come back and talk to me.
Yeah, that's the way
Go
to do it.
win that game and score X amount of points, then come back and talk to me.
Yeah.
Because if you aren't working hard in school, if you aren't working hard at home or in sports and things like that, I can't just give you rewards and awards for virtually nothing, because that's not how I grew up, and I know where I got. And if that's how you grow up, then you won't get where you want to be in life. You know what I'm saying? So
Completely
I'm glad to hear you say that he has worked for
He has, yeah.
the things that he has.
And I'm the first to. Sometimes people don't like the things I say because it's my opinion. I'm allowed to have an opinion, and some people respect it. Some
Absolutely.
people might think otherwise. And being my countryman,
Absolutely.
if he was no disrespect, Sean, I absolutely think you're awesome. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna be shouting for my man, So it's
Yeah.
not that
Absolutely.
I disrespect, the way
Absolutely.
he is. It's just
Yeah, I got the
the
Cleveland
welterweight.
Browns Browns football team,
Yeah.
NFL football over here, and for the last, I don't know, 40 something years, they've been one of the worst teams in the in football.
Yeah.
But every year I'm talking about them like they're the best team in football. It's where
Yeah.
I come from. It's what I support. I watch everybody else in the league. I'm always watching the Super Bowl and all that. But when you're going against my Browns, until that last TikTok, you ain't gonna win
Yeah,
this
okay.
game.
Yeah,
So
I'm with
I
you.
respect that 100%. And on the same side, like last year, we were actually able to make the playoffs. Everybody's asking me, hey, what do you think the Browns are going to do in the playoffs? I'm going to keep it real. I don't expect them to make it out of the first round.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they're here, and
Yeah.
I'm going to root for them. Guess what? They actually made it out of the first round.
Yeah.
Boom. Now what are they going to do now? I don't know. But guess what? I'm going to be on
there
my
with them.
feet on
Yeah.
every single game. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Or every single play. So I respect that 100%. You can keep it real
The Brits
as to
are
what
like
you
that,
expect.
though. The Brits
Yeah,
are.
you can keep it real, and then once it's time for it to play out, say, hey, I'm with my man. I appreciate you, Sean. You're a great guy, but I'm with my man. And I'll say, all right, I'll see you after the fight.
The way it goes, then we'll talk again. Then we'll talk again. That's what the thing is for me. I think that if he continues the development the way he is at the moment, it might take him 6, 7, 8 more fights to potentially be at a better
Yeah,
level. Let's just say he's going to have to
yeah,
test himself a few more. Let's talking about Conor
yeah.
Ben. The only thing is there
And
is a big gulf between Conor Ben now,
yeah,
Virgil Ortiz now,
yeah,
Jaron Ennis now,
yeah,
you Pacquiao.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's it.
yeah.
No
And let
disrespect to
me
Conor.
say this because everybody always wants to know, like, okay, so you're saying he's not ready right now. Well, when's he gonna be ready? If he's 18-0, he's got the name, he can draw fans. When's he gonna be ready? Boxing is just one of those things that it doesn't tell you when you're ready.
Yeah,
It doesn't tell you when it's gonna be your shot. All you have to do is be prepared because when that time does come, you hopefully have done everything that it's taken not only to get to that point but to get over that hump and become a world championship fighter, so I'm not hating on him. I saw what he did the other day. I also know that his dad was wanting him to fight me and things like that, but what I will say is I've been at world championship level since 2013. So
yeah,
if anything, me fighting a guy who has not been at that level at all
doesn't
and
make sense.
also has under 20 fights, it really doesn't make sense. And
Hmm.
so if you think that it does, you're either overestimating your fighter, underestimating me, or you don't know the business of boxing.
Yeah,
So
Amir Khan said the
that's
same thing though, didn't he? It's
yeah,
not right, and he's right. He's kind of right, and I'm
yeah,
sure that
yeah.
his time will come. But for now, not so much. Now we've been speaking quite a lot about the UK, and I promised you at the
Because
beginning.
I love the UK,
Yeah,
man.
I
Yeah, I
like it
love the
back. I
UK.
come over there quite a bit, so commentating and things over there, over in Texas quite a
Uh-huh.
bit.
Nice.
So I wanted to give you a little bit of a quiz, and I want to have a bit of fun with you. I'd seen you on
Uh-oh.
some podcasts out there, and I was thinking, this guy's just
Yeah,
so much fun. I need to have a chat with
yeah.
him. So I've got a bit of a quiz for you. And I was laughing to myself earlier on, even thinking about it. So it's going to be funny there. So I want you to name.
Let me say this: like
Don't
when
avoid the
this
question.
happens, I'll draw these big like brain farts, and I'm like, so be patient with me.
Don't worry, I'm all yours. So
All
name
right, here we go.
5 cities or towns in England.
See, this is what I'm talking about right here. I can name Sheffield, Manchester,
I was
London.
going to say you can't mess that up, can you?
Uh, now I'm gonna start getting really. You guys. It's gonna sound
Think about
disrespectful.
football. Think about football. Do you know any other football teams?
No.
You're just going to say Manchester United, aren't you?
Yeah.
Think
Um,
about some places that are actually called
You guys got
that.
South London. Is that actually a
No.
city?
That's like saying South New York or
Take this finger right
East
now.
Miami.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. That's kind of that's
How
pretty
about
much it for
Birmingham?
me.
Birmingham.
Yeah, Birmingham, and then for the fifth one, I'm just go ahead and say it and sound stupid and it's whatever, but is Nottingham one?
Yeah, Nottingham's like, yeah, go
Oh!
on, yes, go on.
I said like it's just because the movie Robin Hood and all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff. I'm like it's got Nottingham's got to be one, but then
Yeah.
it sounds like a magical place.
Robin
like is
Hood.
Nottingham even magical, or is it like Hood over there?
Yeah.
Is it magical over there, or
Like
what?
it's something of Allah Enchanted or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
We see all these
Boom,
stupid,
Nottingham.
like Notting Hill.
I'm going to Nottingham next time I come over there
Now,
too.
this is your next question now. So, in London, now not necessarily where I'm from, but they're quite well known for kind of having these slang words. And so, just to give you an example, if I said to you, Sean, stop telling pork pies, it's what would I be saying? It'd be lies. Sean, stop telling
Yeah,
lies.
would be
Stop
lies.
telling pork
Yeah.
pies. So if I said to you, you need to go up the apples and pears, what would you be doing?
Use it in a sentence, or is that exactly what you would
Yeah,
say?
that's exactly what I said. Come on, Sean, go up the apples and pears.
That one is hard. Go up to apples and pears.
Yeah.
Go up to apples and pears. Wow, you telling me to? Oh no, you telling me to go to a certain city? Go up the stairs?
Up the stairs, yes! You got it. You got it. What I like to do here is absolutely inspire the future generations of boxing. Boxing runs through my veins. So, what advice would you give to future fighters, even people wanting to take up boxing, fighters coming through the ranks? What advice would you give to them?
Everybody, and I think I kind of alluded to this getting about Conor Ben, but I tell all of the young fighters that I see, be patient, especially those trying to turn pro, because once you turn pro, the business of boxing is going to kind of take you through a whirlwind. You have to be patient. You have to not rush anything, and you, for the sake of words, you kind of have to take what's given to you and always be ready. And it's funny because you never know when that call is going to come, that big call is going to come. I didn't understand my call when I got called to fight Devin Alexander, but we were ready, and we were patiently waiting. Guys who don't have patience and they're like, I'm not fighting, I'm not getting paid, I'm just not gonna do it. Well, you gotta have patience, man. It's not you're gonna struggle. It is a part of life.
Yeah.
Struggle is a part of life, but those who are able to be patient and manage their emotions through it are the guys who always end up on top,
Yeah.
and are able to stay there for some time, at least in my experience. So I tell all the guys, man, just be patient, and it's a process, and don't rush it.
That's a great piece of advice. And what have you got to say to
Mm-hmm.
all of your fans around the world who are going to be watching this?
Man, I'm exactly where I always wanted to be as a fighter or as an athlete, so to speak, in terms of being able to reach a lot of people and affect a lot of lives in an effective way. I do have the Porterway podcast that is on all of the podcasting platforms as well as YouTube. And what I want to do with the podcast is just continue to affect the world in a positive way. So thank you guys for just supporting me. God's blessed me, and I'm glad that you guys are able to see my blessings. And I'm never going to stop sharing my blessings with the world. So thank you.
Incredible. I just want to say, really, a huge, huge thank you for coming on the show. Yeah, I knew you'd be a great guest,
Absolutely.
but you've been an absolutely
Yeah.
wicked guest. So, mate, thanks for coming
Yeah.
on the show.
Thank you. Having back, man. You just let me know.
You got it.